Don't forget to mute your phones. All right, sisters, we are live. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are the Doctors of Truth. My name is Mona Chimso Aga, and I am here with my wonderful sisters. So let me have them introduce themselves as usual. Sisters, please go ahead.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Augusta Nosuke. I'm here in Richmond, Texas, and as usual, we are here to open the minds of our people to what matters to our self-determination. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisekwe.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ekuta Simon Okude. As usual, we know that we want to remind us that this show is for mature minds. We welcome everyone with a critical mind, a mind that asks intelligent questions, because out of such questions, solutions emerge. We are Christians. We believe in showing love to our neighbors. But love has categories. The only way to show love to a terrorist is to keep your head away from him. Make sure you stop him from killing you and your children. The only way to show love to a criminal is to get him locked up behind the bars. The only way to show love to an abusive partner is to get away from him or her. You see, that's how you have a sustainable society. A society with justice, equity, and fairness for all. Therefore, we call on all victims of this catastrophe called Nigeria. Whether you're Yoruba, Middle Belt, Lower Niger, it is time to rise. Though we've been beaten down severally, together we will rise. Irrespective of our differences, together we will rise. Because together we are bolder. Together we are stronger. We will rise together. Thank you.
Thank you, sister, for that wonderful introduction. So our topic today, as usual, is posted on our platform. It's called A Searchlight on Why Taking Down the 1999 Constitution is 75% of our self-determination project. A searchlight on why taking down the 1999 Constitution is 75% of our self-determination project. We have our guest, our special guest today, Attorney Tony Nnadi. But before he gets started, so let me start off with introduction. As we see the Distressed Federation of Nigeria wobbling to its inevitable terminus, and as we prepare to intensify the effort for the upcoming constitutional merger, in today's show, we want to look at the connection between the infamous 1999 Constitution and the many woes Nigerians have been going through for decades and years now. Or we also want to look at the options available to the intrepid people of Nigeria, especially the citizens of the South and the Middle Belt being massacred daily. So our guest today, like I said earlier, is attorney from LNC and MNN Joint Secretary. So he's here today. Mazi, please go ahead and briefly introduce yourself.
Tony Nnadi is my name, as you've been told, and I happen to be secretary to the Lower Niger Congress and also co-convener of the Movement for New Nigeria. Welcoming guests and listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi. So to start off today's show, I'm going to play some video clip for you guys. Actually, it's not a clip anymore. It's going to be an audio. I was unable to upload the video. So it's just going to be a clip. And while we're doing that, I will be profiling the alliance map as well. So give us a minute.
Now, one last question, because we have to go with, and then we can bring you back another time and talk about this.
Right.
I wanted to know, this majority you are talking about, what do you think would trigger them to hold this minority accountable? Do you think that this fear that people have about the influx of people from the north to the south could be the trigger?
Yes.
And do you actually think that people from the north are not allowed to, shouldn't be allowed to live in the south if they wanted to?
The quarrel has never been about people from the north that come to this. Dangote have been in the south doing his business. The Africa's richest man. Nobody has ever asked anybody who came to sell tomato in Ketu or cattle in Garki in Enugu. Not. The problem began when in 2015 we saw an invasion by people who were not in Nigeria.
I want to get you.
Right, this.
Okay.
It's important.
Yeah. Important. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was saying that in what we have now, that minority is minority in comparison with the people they claim to represent. If you're a senator from Osun, for instance, or from Abakaliki, you are in Abuja because Osun or Abakaliki people send you. If at the time they are saying we don't want further business under this constitution, you now go and connive with whoever is organizing the election from Abuja for you, and you get to Abuja, then I can assure you that between now and when the next round of elections will have come to where voting is taking place, a big problem will have arisen between those who want to go and renew the enslavement of all that and the ones who have been enslaved by bringing an end to order. You've been hearing about constitutional force majeure. This majority, we're talking about the indigenous nationalities of the South and Middle Belt. If there's anybody in the Igbo land or Ijo land or Yoruba land or Tiv land that is going to be stronger than the people from those places because somebody in Kano or Abuja is encouraging him to come and be part of sustaining that constitution, that person is going to learn the hard way. And you know the constitution is a social contract. There has been a fundamental departure from the basis of our social contract that we were building a secular federation, a secular union, and a democracy in which life is sacrosanct and we live under the rule of law. A federation, we have ceased to be a federation. A secular union, we have ceased to be a secular union. A goal ceased to be a democracy. Rule of law, you can't have rule of law under this constitution. Sanctity of human life. So in all of that, and only one side, if you go back to that map that shows the alliance and the Sharia, all those things are coming from these feudalists, from these Sharia adherents, who are now prevailing on the rest of the people. Look at how 1979 Constitution came, and how it became 1999 Constitution, and who made it. It was Murtala Mohammed that commissioned the 1979 Constitution by 1975, when he overthrew Gowon. And all of what the Constituent Assembly did in 1977 to moderate the draft they were given, the one that came from Rotimi Williams and Ben Wabweze, Murtala Mohammed that had been killed in 1976, Obasanjo convened the Constituent Assembly that was supposed to be looking at the draft and recommending what would become constitution. They finished their work, submitted a clean copy of what they had agreed upon to Obasanjo. But on the 21st of September 1978, Obasanjo goes on national broadcast to announce 17 amendments to the finished work of the Constituent Assembly. It was in those 17 amendments that everything that took us away from being a federation were restored. The Constituent Assembly did not accept the states that were created to truncate the regions. People are talking about Ironsi that damaged our federation. It wasn't. Ironsi did not touch decree number 34 of 1966. Did not touch the structure of the Federation of Nigeria. It was decree number 14 of 1967 by Gowon that broke the four regions into 12 states. That was the first time the structure of Nigeria was touched. 1 year after Ironsi had been killed. So we are talking about something that is so fundamental. There has been a departure from the basis of the social contract. And when something happens when an extraordinary circumstance arises in a contract, parties who are no longer able to keep the obligations under that contract are in a position to declare force majeure and suspend obligations under that contract. That's why we have come to. The social contract, the Constitution of Nigeria, has come under that situation in which there have been an extraordinary situation that take away the basis of the contract itself. And so those who are suffering, those who are dying, those who cannot see any future in remaining in that social contract are going to declare the action that is coming is that constitutional force majeure, to say that this contract can no longer, we are suspending our obligations under this contract. And when that majority has taken that step, let us then see the number of those who insist that they will use guns to muzzle the rest of the people into submission. Then we'll count their guns.
Now, somebody might ask you, have you thought about this majority moving ahead to recall people who are representing them in Abuja, to recall them and say, look, we don't want you anymore, come back until this is done? Is that a possibility?
Of course, there are dates for when these things will happen. It's not even a matter of possibility. It's just the lockdown that's delayed a few days. There are dates already fixed for when certain things will happen. To tell you that it's not something we're pulling from under our hearts. In the resolutions of the Solemn Assembly of the Peoples of the Lower Niger that happened in Port Harcourt, is actually an item on the resolution that when the time comes, when we have consulted with all our alliance neighbors and we are ready to make the push against that constitution, that will recall those who represent us under that constitution for consultations. If we are very close to that time, once we declare this emergency, of course they will be recalled for consultation. We are not asking them to resign or do it, but they must come and sit down to agree with those who they represent under that constitution how we can proceed. Of course, there might be some who will say, oh, who are you to invite us? That will be their decision. But as for whether they will be recalled from the point that the constitutional force majeure is declared. Let it be clear to those who will be trying to understand it when it begins to unfold. The owners of the land, the indigenous nationalities of southern and middle belt Nigeria, have come to where the social contract, the constitution that was imposed in negation of their right to self-determination, because that is what you get when the constitution you have is toppled and replaced by one that is not negotiated. If you go to section 14.2a of their so-called constitution, it says sovereignty belongs to the people from whom government, through this constitution, derives all its powers and authority. That's a universal truism. Everybody knows that that's the case. Then you come to our own situation in which there was never a meeting between the owners, between the constituents, between the Yoruba, the Tiv, and the Jaw, and the Fulani, to commit themselves, because when the preamble says that we, the people, solemnly resolve to live together and therefore make and give us ourselves the following constitution, is saying that we, the Jaw, we, the Ogoni, we, the Yoruba, we, the Igbo, we, the Tiv, have submitted our lands and our people into this union. And therefore, we have written these articles, like the memo and articles of a company, claiming that you, Rudolph, me, Tony, and Richard, all have submitted our assets to become Richie Limited, of a company. If we never met, and your assets and my assets and Richard's assets have been corralled by force, that's what we have now. They've seized everybody's assets, and then they put our signature on their title document. It is that title document called that constitution which defines this social contract that we are rejecting. You cannot keep my signature on that document. It's not the business of National Assembly. It's like because some people are saying, no, why can't National Assembly amend whatever? No, the legislative mandate of National Assembly does not include constitution making. Let's get that straight. So if anybody is in National Assembly hoping that anything happening to constitution will be brought to him, then it's like saying that the managers you hired in your company are the ones that will rewrite your memo and article if there's something to be written in it. Is it the shareholders or the managers they hired that write their memo and article? The memo and articles to the company is like the constitution to the country. The memo and article that brought us together in Lancaster House have been overtaken since 1966. So Nigeria is actually a defunct federation. Those who held the carcass together and who have been holding it to the exclusion of the owners of the vast majority, the south and middle belt, those people are saying that that imposition must come to an end. Because not only has it taken all their assets, it's now taken their lives. The only reason why people can come into communities and kill people with no consequence is that they can't touch guns. Who said they can't touch guns? Because somebody wrote it by decree into that constitution. So we are just trying to break these things down for everybody. The electricity we do not have, the infrastructure we do not have, the right to defend ourselves which have been taken away, and all of the opportunities that have been denied those who in the quota system. You know what it brings. Look at something like NYSC. Since 1973, the purpose of the NYSC, we had a war in which the quarrel was how we will live together. Instead of going to solve that problem, people introduced something that was a deceit. Say, we let young people go and mix up with themselves so that they can become familiar with themselves. That's one side of that's the front end. The back end is this. The children of Port Harcourt, the children of Lagos, the children of Ibadan, the children of Enugu are sent to Karanamoda and Potiskum and Biu to go and perish. Whereas the children of Kano, the children of Sokoto, and the children of Meduguri are sent to Port Harcourt, sent to Lagos, sent to Warri, to be absorbed in NNPC, to be absorbed in MPA, to be absorbed in Central Bank. That's what has been going on since 1977 and 73. And somebody now put it in that constitution so that we cannot amend it. 90% of those managing the affairs of Nigeria today were recruited from that back door. The Land Use Act, you know how it got there. So in all of this, people's lives have been rendered unlivable under that truncated social contract, under that social contract that replaced the one we agreed upon. The social contract, meaning the constitution that brought us together as one union, have been frustrated by those who introduced all these elements, the Sharia and the collapse of the rule of law, because no rule of law can be attained under an apartheid constitution. We have something worse than apartheid. In apartheid, at least you were sure that it was the Boers, the whites on one side, and the other. And you see the society that they developed. They had system which they developed in the days of apartheid. But look at what we have now, the Fulani. What system have they developed other than damaging all of the ones they met here? So we say we can continue to live like that. If the only reason why I have to be killed is because I have to be in Nigeria with people who ate a little of faith to kill me, of course, I will say I don't want that union. Whatever be the other benefit.
Now,
all right, thank you.